Once I tune, 3 flights from Sioux Lookout, and a bearskin bush plane for most of it, so the tuning gets a little bit cranky for a couple days of travel afterwards. I said, the bush planes do wonders for viola tuning. Torontonians always love complaining about like the porter flights coming in and out of the island, but you haven't seen anything yet until you get into the little prop planes. No overhead bins, maybe eight passengers. If you're going to communities further north from Sioux Lookout, sometimes you get the four-seater planes. Those are real fun. So I've got a couple of songs that I'm going to play, which is off of my last EP, which is called Reckoning. I've got a couple of CD copies over at the back for anyone that still enjoys listening to music on physical media. For the rest of you all, it's available on all major streaming platforms, SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Music, what have you. Maybe even Tidal. I think I've made 83 cents off of Tidal in the past 3 years, so shout out to Jay-Z for being a real fair artist there. Someday I'll buy a copy. Thanks, Tidal. So before I play Reckoning, I always like to talk a little bit about it. It was originally conceived as part of a theater score, which also premiered here in Toronto. I recorded it in a friend's house in High Park a couple of years back, or kind of Rossesville area, I guess. But it was an interesting commission for me because I spent so much time working as a solo artist, but I really relish like the opportunities like to collaborate with artists in other disciplines too. And working in theater, like you have so much more storytelling capacity in many ways than I do just up here being nerdy with my viola and my effects pedals. But love you, Mal. Love you too. Now I know where Rose is sitting. Oh, that wasn't Rose. I'm blind up here. I can't see anything other than like the red lights. So. Nadia, right? So Reckoning was a story where, as Anishinaabe people especially, like our families have been really devastated for generations by the ongoing impact of the residential school system, and sometimes I would almost feel like, what stories can we tell outside of this? Like, how can we look at life from other perspectives, thinking about like, what is life beyond the destruction? But then when I was asked to come to this play, it was asking me to kind of flip the lens around and view it like someone coming back to the story for the first time. And as someone from Treaty 3, there's like residential schools in almost every community that you drive through. It's like really hard to escape. But through this music, I was asked to then tell the story of what it's like for a recent newcomer to Canada who's been escaping something else from their own past, fleeing persecution elsewhere, and being sold like this beautiful picture of Canada. Everything's gonna be great now, but this character in the play ends up working for the Truth and Reconciliation Commission and finds that something entirely different than the Canada that they've been sold. So scoring for this play, which was written by Tara Bagan, I was asked to try and figure out how to tell that story again through my music. And I said that I'm really fun at parties with this stuff, but also if people pick up a copy of Now this week, like, we talk about ZB1's music and like hot Toronto buzz bands, I guess, and talk about like electronic music too, about what it's like life outside of the club. Like, you're not always dancing, you're not always partying, so I really enjoy that introspective part of music as well. So this first song is called Bajik. So it really depends on what my audience is, but I feel like I might have a handful of speakers of Anishinaabemowin or in the audience tonight. You can tell by the raucous laughter in the corner, typically that's like the auntie area. So anyone that listens to the Western classical music canon on like even the slightest basis, you're going to be familiar with such thrilling naming conventions, such as Beethoven's First Symphony, movements numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4. I can't remember if there's a fifth, but you get the drift. So my album is basically just named Basic and Nij because it was originally written as a single piece, and then I had to divide it, and it was a little bit an in joke back to my Anishinaabe speakers on how to then further divide it, but I also shot myself in the foot since I think I can only pull off that stunt once in my career. So this next track is called Non, and it's also a part of Reckoning. So I'm switching up my usual set list a little bit tonight. I haven't played much with the laptop in the past couple of years, but tonight I want to dig into some unreleased stuff that I've been working on with CB1 a bit. So we are going to watch as I DJ myself and dig into a little bit of the ZB1 back catalog. my next song is from a commission that I did with APTN about a year ago, and there's a TV show that's going to be coming out maybe in April. And last I've heard is April, but we're never quite sure with television production timelines. But it was commissioned, I guess, as part of a partnership where they've hired an Indigenous director with an Indigenous musician as part of this series called, I blank every time I'm on stage, but Nadia McLaren was the director, who's an Anishinaabe filmmaker originally from Sioux Lookout as well, so it was a really natural partnership where we really want to talk about the joys and heartbreaks of small town Anishinaabe living. I want to acknowledge too, it's been a really difficult year for communities. I work with youth in Sioux Lookout. We've lost 2 students at our high school this year. I know there's been a lot of other people losing family members, other loved ones in the music community, and I just want to acknowledge that there's a lot of grief and unresolved issues and a lot of pain and heartbreak that keeps on happening again and again to Anishinaabe peoples, Indigenous peoples. How I tie that back into this next song, I'm not sure, but we worked with an elder whose name is Ralph Johnson, who's lives in Sioux Lookout now, but is from a little bit further south in Treaty 3 around like the Rainy River area. And the whole song came out of a conversation with him where we talked about the role of music, of sound, of creation. So it's called Tibinoe Gijigo. Full sentence, Tibinoe Gijigo, Gegabinon Go Simin. And he said sound is at the center of everything. It's at the center of creation. And we had like this really deep session. Then ABTN's like, great, now go make a 3-minute pop song. I'm like, cool. So, Tibinoe Gijigo. Tuning then pop song. So I'd like to finish the set with a cover tonight. It's my first time ever playing this live, but this one's dedicated to ZB1. We actually met on Twitter when we never got into a flame war or anything, which is even better about meeting on Twitter, is that I feel like that doesn't happen that often. It's like, who's this cute little niche kid that's just like posting constantly in syllabics? This is awesome. And then we managed to meet a couple years later, and I've been really excited to watch their career develop as they grow as a musician, as a really beautiful person. So thanks to everyone for coming out tonight. Looking forward to checking out the Theodore set after. And this last song is called Whispers. Thank you all so much for listening tonight. Thanks to the Music Gallery for holding space for us here tonight. Thank you so much to ZB1 as well, and please stay tuned for Pedro next.